Hi everybody! Today we are going to be talking about cravings and that so elusive quality that we all like a little bit more of, willpower. So let's get started. I'm guessing we've all probably had experience of wanting to just cut down on something in our lives that maybe we think we do a little more of than we should and found it tough. Not just because, as we spoke about yesterday, there are patterns of behaviours and habits that mean that without thinking about it, we end up doing it if we're not awfully careful, but also because some of the things that we do in our lives actually have a chemical impact on the body, meaning that there are going to be withdrawal symptoms or cravings that come with them. Well, of course, we're talking about quite a wide range of things here, from alcohol and nicotine right through to caffeine and perhaps one of the most insidious of all, sugar. Now, I have a terrible relationship with sugar. I've got an unbelievably sweet tooth, and if there's one thing I have battled all through my life, it is, in fact, my relationship with sugar. So I am speaking from very personal experience here, as well as sharing the experiences of all the folks that I've worked with over the years. So let's get real about cravings. If we want to cut down on something that we've previously enjoyed that's going to have some sort of reaction on the body, the chances are that when we try doing so, we'll be experiencing a craving. Now, in the moment, that craving is going to sound like someone literally yelling in your head that you need to go and get whatever it is you should be having right now. No ifs, no buts, it's a fact, you medically need it. You medically need that sugar, that caffeine, that alcohol, that nicotine, whatever it is. Now, of course, if there actually is a chemical impact on the body, it will possibly be struggling in the very, very early stages with a certain degree of withdrawal. And you might be noticing some of the symptoms that come with that. But that very rapidly passes. So if you're still struggling with cravings a couple of days after you've stopped doing something or you're beginning to wean yourself off it, then the chances are that's largely being driven by your own internal patterns. And this means that you can overcome it. So cravings, what do we need to know about them? Well, when they are just thought patterns, just ourselves telling ourselves that we really, 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 really need to do something, then it's well worth just starting there, recognizing the pattern, the thought. Oh, there I am, really feeling the need to eat some chocolate, really feeling the need to have a cigarette, to have another cup of coffee, whatever it is that is being driven here, whatever that craving is. But here's the thing. A thought isn't a fact. A thought is a thought. Now, please don't get me wrong. Thoughts can be utterly compelling. They can crash down on us like a tsunami. And before we know where we are, we've just responded to the thought and we've gone and done whatever it is we had hoped we wouldn't. They can be extremely powerful and very, very compelling. But they are just thoughts. And because they are just thoughts, there is a possibility that as we get slightly better at noticing them, slightly better at noticing what they typically are and when they typically happen, we may eventually get to the point where we can catch the thought. And here we want to put in a circuit breaker. We want to give ourselves the wiggle room to not just act immediately. We want to give ourselves the wiggle room to not act. Now, one of the best ways of doing this is simply noticing your overall patterns so that you can begin to decide, if I were to take a different action or indeed no action at all, when would I be best doing that? When do I perhaps have the best possible chance of feeling that craving and actually not responding to it, doing something else instead, noticing it as a craving because it's definitely there, but at the same time not listening to it, not just following it. So I'm going to share a couple of ways that you might want to be able to do that, or you might want to consider in order to be able to do that. The first is what I like to call having mantras. I am a huge fan of mantras and have found them very effective in some of the things that I have tried to develop a different relationship with. So a couple of years ago, before COVID, when we all still worked in offices, I too used to work in a nice busy office with my colleagues, and my colleagues were lovely people. And we typically used to have quite a lot of sweets and cakes and that kind of stuff on the floor within our little part of the office that were for our team to enjoy and share. Because my team were especially lovely, somebody at some point during the day was almost certain to come around with one of these tempting sweet treats, usually in the afternoon where my willpower was almost on the floor, and offer me one. I would offer everyone one. Now at the time I was pretty determined that I wanted to improve my relationship with sugar and that therefore I really should start saying no. Guess what? That wasn't doing me very well. There were a couple of reasons why saying no in that particular scenario was really hard. Number one, I wanted the cake or the chocolate. It looked delicious. But number two was also relevant. I didn't yet have a pattern that was going to help me to say no. I hadn't yet replaced the habit, if you like, of saying, oh, thank you so much, that looks lovely, and eating it, with a different habit that would be, thank you so much, that's very kind of you, but actually not now, or maybe a bit later. Something that would actually work and be that circuit breaker for me in that moment. Now, of course, there were some other social things going on here too. I didn't want to look rude. I didn't really want to miss out. Everyone else was enjoying the cakes, why couldn't I? But equally, I was quite sure that this was an important hurdle that I needed to overcome. Otherwise, I wasn't going to get anywhere. So that's exactly what I did. I taught myself a new rule. I'm not going to lie. Did I like the rule? Absolutely not. But I had a secondary agreement with myself that made the rule a little bit more bearable. So here are what the rules were. Rule number one was that no matter what it is, no matter when it is, and no matter who is offering it, your first response to food in the office of the sweet kind is always going to be no thank you. And that was my new rule. No ifs, no buts. The rule is just going to be no thank you, not now. But that was my wiggle room. If after 30 minutes I'm still really wanting it, or I'm actually rather hungry today and actually it would fill a hole, it would serve a purpose, or I want to change my mind, then I have the right to do so. But not for 30 minutes. I have to say no, 30 minutes time. I can change my mind. Now, there was a very particular reason I did this, because I'd been doing some reading about cravings and willpower, and I knew that all of the science said that if I could just start saying no, and then to help me with that, because just no full stop was too big, but no, not for half an hour, but we can revise in half an hour, I'd stand a better chance. I thought, you know what? I'll give that a go. And you know what? It worked. The number of times that I went back and changed my mind after 30 minutes was incredibly small, because guess what? After 30 minutes, I had usually forgotten all about it, got distracted, or was in fact somewhere else entirely in the office, so couldn't even see the cakes anymore. And on the rare occasions that I did actually decide after 30 minutes was up that actually I was now going to say yes, that was okay. I'd already made that arrangement with myself. So for you, it's about thinking, could I possibly have a new rule in the first instance? And to make that more likely to stick, could I give myself permission to use the 30-minute rule to see if I can then say, if I still want to do it in 30 minutes, that's fine, I will allow myself a revision. This is brilliant for cutting down. It's brilliant if you want to put more space in between doing something so that you're gradually reducing over time, because 30 minutes, and then another 30 minutes perhaps means it's a massive gap of an hour where maybe previously you might have eaten 2 cakes, you've now eaten none. That's really useful to be aware of. It can add space and it can overall really help in reducing frequency. But it's also incredibly powerful at helping us really begin to build the skill to say, no thank you. And interestingly enough, once you begin to actually believe that you can, you're going to start to build your confidence that you can. This is massively going to impact your chances of success in a positive way. If you go into something not really believing that you can because I've got no willpower or I'm no good at this or I've tried before, you're kind of not really on your side before you even get started. So you're going to need a little bit of winning round. You need to win a few times before you can start getting bolder. And this is a really nice way of doing that. Have a rule, figure out what you're going to say so you don't have to think about any of this in the moment, whether you're speaking to someone else or to yourself, and then see if you can have a window whereby you're going to not do anything, but you'll give yourself permission to change your mind once that 30 minutes is up. So that brings me on to willpower. And we hear an awful lot about willpower, especially when it comes to things like doing more exercise, giving stuff up, being more rounded, better people. We need this thing called willpower. And it's true. If we want to start doing something new or stop doing something, then we are really drawing on something that we describe as willpower. It's that energy to either make us do something or stop us from doing something. But there's an important thing about willpower that no one typically tells you about, and that is that no human being has endless amounts of it. Willpower is energy. Put quite simply, it's brain energy, and it's brain energy of a very specific type. It's quite a high function type. And it comes from the same tank, if you like, of energy that the brain will use for all other high function tasks. Things like thinking, deciding, prioritizing. And these are quite heavy work for the average brain. They take quite a lot of energy. And so making ourselves do something and stopping ourselves doing something sit in the same tank of energy, if you like. And when the brain is getting a little bit tired, when it's running a bit low on that kind of energy for the day, it becomes more and more difficult to use that thing called willpower. So it isn't you. It isn't that you're terribly lacking in willpower necessarily. My best guess is it's more likely that some of the stuff you're trying to do, some of the things you'd like to change, some of the things you're trying to increase or decrease are possibly either too big of a step, which we've spoken about before, or they're coming at a time of the day where actually your energy levels to make these things happen are probably already depleted because the brain has used the energy earlier on, just living life, working, looking after the family. All of this stuff requires brain energy, thinking energy. And quite simply, for very many of us, by the time we are getting home at the end of the day, even more so by the time we are approaching the end of the week, the energy we have left to do the things that we know we either should or shouldn't do is becoming very depleted. We're just running out of what would be necessary to actually help hold us to that. Our willpower, if you like, is running on fumes. And this is why I am the biggest fan of tiny changes, because tiny changes don't need willpower. They can bypass willpower altogether. If you can make your changes so small that you can do them in a couple of minutes, whether you want to or not, then you are starting to utilize a space that doesn't require willpower. And I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. It is an exciting moment indeed when you realize that you can do something or not do something, whether you want to or not. Not because you've got massive amounts of willpower, but simply because you've set yourself the right level of challenge at the right time to allow you to begin to start your journey towards where you would like to be. And that you're doing that with your brain, with what it means to be a human being, rather than wishing you could do it in one go. It's tempting. I know, I get it. I too would love to be able to wave a magic wand and have certain changes made in my life. But I know I need to be more realistic than that. I know if I want to succeed, I need to respect some of my all too human limitations. I need to work with my brain, not against it. And finally, I need to extend myself just a little bit of kindness to say, this stuff isn't easy. So if we take it one step at a time, that is still 1,000,000 times better than not undertaking the journey at all. And if we just keep going, we will succeed. And that, certainly in my experience, is an amazing feeling. So I'm really hoping that you've enjoyed the content that we have shared with you this week. Keep coming back. If you haven't subscribed already and you like our stuff, please do, because it's my plan to be putting up regular bite-sized posts on some of the topics that people will typically struggle most with or ask me about, and I can't wait to share some of the insights and experiences that myself and my clients have had to see if that can help grow your happy in 2024. Of course, if you like what we're doing, that you'd really enjoy coming along to one of our live events, then please check out our website. You can find us at happyhumantraining.co.uk. And of course, if there's ever anything that you'd like to ask, either pop the question in the comments or you can email me and I will get back to you. My details are on the website. If you'd like a more frequent, gentle reminder to help keep you on track, why not try our newsletter? You can subscribe on our website, and twice a month you will get not only what we've got coming up so you can join in, but also a newsletter full of insights and stuff we're enjoying at the moment to really help you grow your roar in 24. But for now, you enjoy. I hope that this has been useful, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.